Welcome to our exploration of Stoicism and the often overlooked wisdom of moderating our kindness. In this video, we will discuss 7 reasons why you must avoid being overly kind to others. While kindness is undoubtedly a virtue, an excessive application can sometimes lead to unintended consequences. Drawing from the Stoic principles of balance, self-respect, and practical wisdom, we'll uncover why it's crucial to temper our altruism with rationality. Join us as we navigate the fine line between being generous and preserving our own well-being, learning how to make thoughtful decisions that respect both ourselves and others. Chapter 1. The Perils of Excessive Kindness and Perceived Weakness. In the journey of life, kindness is often hailed as a commendable virtue, one that enriches both giver and receiver. However, when kindness is extended without boundaries or discernment, it can inadvertently lead to a perception of weakness, making one vulnerable to exploitation. This chapter explores the Stoic perspective on why maintaining a balance in how we express kindness is crucial, both for personal integrity and for commanding respect from others. Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy, teaches the importance of virtue and wisdom, emphasizing that how we choose to respond to external circumstances defines our character. Stoics believe in living a life of rationality, where emotions are managed and decisions are made based on reason, not impulse. This philosophical approach is particularly helpful when navigating the complexities of interpersonal relationships, where the lines between being kind and being taken advantage of can often blur. The Stoic approach to kindness involves a deep understanding of self-respect and the recognition that our own well-being should not be compromised for the sake of others' approval. Marcus Aurelius, a renowned Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, argued that true kindness is measured and thoughtful. He believed that kindness should stem from a place of strength and authenticity, not from a desire to be liked or approved of by others. This view challenges the modern inclination to equate relentless generosity with virtue. When we behave overly kind all the time, without setting boundaries, we risk being perceived as weak or incapable of standing up for ourselves. This perception can encourage others to impose their will upon us, expecting that we will always comply without protest. In the workplace, for example, being excessively accommodating can lead to being overloaded with tasks because colleagues assume you will never say no. In personal relationships, this might mean consistently putting another's needs before your own, to the detriment of your mental health and happiness. Stoicism teaches that each individual should not only practice kindness, but also practice assertiveness when necessary. Being able to say no, to set limits, and to demand respect are all viewed as strengths in Stoic philosophy. This balanced approach ensures that one's kindness is not born out of a fear of confrontation, but from a position of controlled strength. The Stoics advocate for what is known as the golden mean, the virtuous middle between two extremes. In the case of kindness, this means finding the balance between self-sacrifice and self-neglect. Furthermore, Stoicism introduces the concept of preferred indifference, which are external things deemed valuable but not critical to one's moral virtue. Kind acts fall into this category. They are valuable and contribute positively to life, but should not compromise one's moral integrity or personal well-being. This distinction is crucial because it underlines the idea that being overly accommodating can lead away from virtuous living if it means constantly placing others' needs above one's own. To apply Stoic principles effectively, one must engage in regular self-reflection to understand the motives behind their actions. Are you being kind because it genuinely contributes to the good, or are you seeking approval or avoiding conflict? Such introspection can lead to a deeper understanding of oneself and foster a more balanced approach to how kindness is dispensed. In summary, while kindness is a virtue extolled by Stoicism, it must be tempered with wisdom and self-respect. By maintaining emotional resilience and understanding the limits of generosity, one can ensure that their acts of kindness are both meaningful and respectful of their own dignity and worth. This balanced approach not only aligns with Stoic principles, but also protects one from the unintended consequences of being perceived as weak or exploitable. Chapter 2. The Loss of Identity Through People-Pleasing. In the quest for acceptance and the pursuit of kindness, one can often find themselves trapped in a cycle of people-pleasing, a pattern that not only dilutes personal identity, but also diverges from the Stoic ideal of living authentically, according to one's principles. This chapter delves into the Stoic teachings regarding self-preservation and the critical balance required between being kind and maintaining one's true self, guiding us through the dangers of losing one's identity in the pursuit of pleasing others. Stoicism, a philosophy that has its roots in ancient Greece, emphasizes the importance of self-control, rational thought, and independence. It teaches that true freedom comes from living in accordance with reason, and that one's peace of mind should not be contingent upon the whims of others. Epictetus, one of the leading figures in Stoic philosophy, famously said that we are disturbed not by events, but by our views on them. This perspective is particularly relevant in the context of people-pleasing, where the desire for external approval can lead to a disturbance in one's inner tranquility and sense of self. When individuals constantly adapt their behaviors, desires, and even values to suit others, they risk losing touch with their own identity. This can manifest in always saying yes to requests, changing opinions to match those of others, or engaging in activities that do not align with personal interests or values. Over time, these actions can lead to a feeling of emptiness and dissatisfaction, as the person's true self becomes overshadowed by a persona crafted merely to gain approval or avoid conflict. The Stoics argued that one's moral character and personal integrity are of paramount importance and should not be compromised for fleeting external validations. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of acting in accordance with one's nature and the virtues one holds dear. He suggested that the opinion of others should neither define us nor direct our actions. Stoicism teaches that each person should live truthfully and authentically, reflecting their true character and virtues, rather than shaping their existence around the expectations of others. This Stoic principle applies directly to the issue of people-pleasing. By constantly seeking approval and adjusting one's behavior to fit the preferences of others, a person not only sacrifices their own needs and desires, but also betrays their essential nature. The Stoics would counsel that virtue lies in living consistently with one's reasoned choices, and that happiness results from being true to oneself, not from the approval of others. Furthermore, Stoicism encourages the practice of self-reflection and mindfulness as tools to combat the tendency to people-please. By regularly examining one's motivations and behaviors, individuals can begin to discern whether their actions are genuinely aligned with their values or if they are merely attempts to curry favor. This introspection helps foster a stronger sense of self and supports the Stoic goal of living a life that is both rational and authentic. Additionally, the Stoic concept of appropriate actions, or katakon, emphasizes doing what is fitting for one's role and nature. This implies a balance where one fulfills social obligations and acts with kindness, but not at the expense of their own moral and rational standards. In practical terms, this means learning to say no when requests conflict with personal ethics, or when acquiescing would lead to self-neglect. In practicing these stoic virtues, one can maintain a healthy balance between being socially cooperative and preserving one's individuality. It involves understanding that while social harmony is valuable, it should not be achieved by sacrificing one's principles or psychological well-being. By adhering to Stoic teachings, individuals can navigate the complex social landscapes without losing sight of who they are, ultimately leading to a life of true contentment and self-respect. Chapter 3. The Dangers of Overextending Yourself. Overextending oneself in acts of kindness and generosity is a common pitfall that can lead to emotional exhaustion and burnout. This chapter explores the Stoic perspective on why it is essential to maintain a balance between helping others and preserving one's own resources, emphasizing the importance of self-care and the strategic deployment of one's energies in alignment with Stoic virtues of wisdom and moderation. Stoicism, an ancient philosophical doctrine originating in Greece, stresses the cultivation of self-control, resilience, and clear judgment as paths to living a good life. A central tenet of Stoicism is the concept of living in accordance with nature, including one's own nature, which entails recognizing and respecting one's personal limits and capacities. Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus espouse the idea that understanding and accepting our limitations is not only a form of wisdom, but also a prerequisite for maintaining our health, physical, mental, and emotional. In the context of generosity and kindness, Stoics would argue that these virtues, while inherently positive, must be practiced judiciously. Overextending oneself, whether by consistently putting others' needs before one's own, volunteering too much time, or giving away more resources than one can afford, can lead to a depletion of personal energy and resources. This state not only diminishes one's ability to be helpful in the future, but can also result in feelings of resentment and frustration, which are antithetical to Stoic peace of mind. The danger of overextending lies in the mistaken belief that more is always better. In their pursuit of being a good person, individuals may forget that true goodness, from a Stoic point of view, involves acting wisely and sustainably. Stoicism teaches that every action should be performed with a view to the whole of one's life. Excessive giving, therefore, can be seen as imprudent because it compromises one's ability to function optimally and to fulfill other duties and responsibilities. Moreover, the Stoic practice of oikiosis, which refers to the natural human inclination to care for oneself, and by extension for others, suggests a concentric model of care. Care should begin with oneself and gradually extend outward towards others as one's capacity allows. This model not only preserves one's well-being, but also ensures that care for others is more effective and sustainable. Stoics believe that one cannot truly be of service to others if one's own cup is empty, paralleling the modern adage that one cannot pour from an empty cup. Stoicism also highlights the virtue of temperance, or moderation, which applies directly to how we manage our resources, including our energy and time. Epictetus advised that in our desire to be generous, we must also be rational, considering not just the immediate benefits of our actions, but their long-term sustainability and consequences. This approach requires a regular assessment of one's actions and motivations, ensuring they align with one's capacity and long-term personal and ethical goals. Additionally, Stoic mindfulness, being attentive and present in the current moment, can help individuals recognize when they are nearing their limits. This self-awareness allows one to take a step back and reassess their commitments and the implications of their charitable actions. It also helps in setting and enforcing healthy boundaries, which is crucial for maintaining a balanced life. In practical terms, this means learning to say no or to offer alternatives when requests for help exceed one's capacity to give without harming oneself. It means prioritizing tasks and responsibilities, including self-care, to ensure that one remains robust and capable of continuing to practice kindness in a sustainable way. While Stoicism values kindness and generosity, it equally values wisdom and moderation. By recognizing and respecting one's personal limitations, one can ensure that their acts of kindness are not only genuinely altruistic but also prudent and sustainable, thereby protecting one's own well-being while effectively aiding others. This balance is not only essential for personal health and happiness, but is also a mark of true Stoic virtue. Chapter 4. Barriers to personal growth through excessive kindness. The Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on virtue, reason, and self-control, holds that personal growth is a critical component of a well-lived life. This chapter examines the potential barriers to personal growth that can arise from excessive kindness, detailing how such behavior might inhibit individual development and conflict, with the Stoic emphasis on self-improvement and resilience. Stoicism, founded in ancient Greece, encourages adherents to develop their character through the practice of virtues such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. A central aspect of Stoic philosophy is the focus on personal responsibility and control over one's own life. Stoics believe that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, through the development of one's character and rational capabilities, rather than from external sources, including the approval or happiness of others. In the realm of kindness, while generosity and altruism are undoubtedly virtuous, an excessive outward focus can lead to neglect of one's own needs and aspirations. This imbalance not only stunts personal growth but may also lead to resentment and a loss of self-identity. When individuals consistently prioritize others' needs above their own, they may miss opportunities for self-reflection, learning, and personal challenge, all of which are essential for personal development, according to Stoic thought. Stoicism teaches the importance of prosouche, or attention, which is the practice of continual awareness of one's thoughts and actions to ensure they are in alignment with one's values and rational understanding. This concept is critical when examining why and how we offer kindness. Stoics would argue that if acts of kindness are driven by a desire for acceptance or fear of conflict, rather than a rational decision to act virtuously, such actions might not genuinely contribute to personal or communal well-being. Moreover, Stoicism values autarky, or self-sufficiency, which involves relying on oneself for happiness and well-being. This principle suggests that excessive kindness, especially when it detracts from one's own resources or well-being, is contrary to Stoic ideals. Stoics would advise individuals to ensure that their acts of kindness are sustainable and not detrimental to their capacity to live according to reason and virtue. Excessive kindness can also lead to a lack of boundaries, which Stoics would view as a failure in the virtue of temperance, moderation. Without appropriate boundaries, individuals may find themselves overcommitted and overwhelmed, conditions which are not conducive to self-improvement or rational living. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about the need for balance in all things, including our interactions with others. He advised that one should give in proportion to what is right and fitting, both for the recipient and for oneself. Personal growth in Stoicism is also linked to facing and overcoming challenges. Stoics believe that encountering and dealing with difficulties is a way to develop fortitude and resilience. If excessive kindness prevents one from experiencing life's natural challenges, by always making others' problems one's own, for instance, it can inhibit the development of these essential qualities. To foster personal growth while remaining kind, Stoics would advocate for a reflective practice where individuals consider the long-term impacts of their actions on themselves and others. They would encourage asking questions such as, does this act of kindness help the other person in a meaningful and lasting way, or does it merely enable dependency? Am I neglecting my needs or compromising my values with this action? Is this kindness an expression of virtue, or is it a way to avoid discomfort? While kindness is a key Stoic virtue, it must be practiced with wisdom and self-awareness. By maintaining a balance between helping others and nurturing one's own growth, individuals can ensure that their kindness is both virtuous and conducive to personal development. This approach not only aligns with Stoic philosophy, but also leads to a richer, more balanced life. Chapter 5. Dependency on others' happiness for self-validation. In this chapter, we explore a common pitfall in human social behavior: the reliance on others' happiness and approval as a source of personal validation and fulfillment. Stoic philosophy, with its focus on inner resilience and self-sufficiency, offers profound insights into why this dependency is detrimental and how individuals can cultivate a more self-reliant and authentically virtuous approach to living. Stoicism, an ancient philosophical tradition that emphasizes control over one's reactions and resilience in the face of hardship, teaches that true contentment comes from within. According to Stoics like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, our emotional and psychological well-being should not depend on external circumstances or the opinions and behaviors of others. They argue that such dependencies make individuals vulnerable to emotional instability and distract them from the pursuit of true virtue. The desire to make others happy can seem like an altruistic goal, but when driven by a need for approval or acceptance, it can lead to a problematic cycle where one's self-worth is contingent upon the reactions of others. This external focus detracts from self-reflection and personal growth, both key components of Stoic practice. Stoics advocate for an internal locus of control, where the focus is on managing one's own thoughts and actions in accordance with reason and virtue. One of the Stoic concepts that directly address this issue is the dichotomy of control, which teaches that we should focus our energy only on things within our control, primarily our own thoughts and actions. The emotions and satisfaction of others, however, are outside this sphere of control and thus should not be the basis for one's happiness or self-esteem. By disentangling one's emotional well-being from the uncontrollable reactions of others, Stoics believe that individuals can achieve greater emotional freedom and stability. Moreover, the Stoic virtue of apatheia, often translated as equanimity or untroubledness, suggests a state of being where one is not unduly affected by external events or opinions. Achieving this state involves practicing self-awareness and mindfulness, continually questioning one's motives and ensuring they are aligned with Stoic virtues rather than external validation. Dependency on others for self-validation also contradicts the Stoic principle of self-sufficiency, autarkia. Stoics argue that personal freedom and tranquility come from relying on oneself for emotional and ethical fulfillment. This self-sufficiency is not about isolation or indifference to others, but about ensuring that one's emotional state and self-worth are robust against the shifting tides of social approval and disapproval. Practically, Stoicism encourages practices such as journaling and meditation, which help individuals reflect on their actions and motivations, increasing self-awareness and reducing the urge to seek validation through pleasing others. These practices help cultivate a balanced perspective, where acts of kindness and generosity are motivated by genuine virtue rather than a covert search for approval. Additionally, Stoics would advise setting clear personal boundaries and learning to say no when necessary. This not only prevents overcommitment, but also helps individuals remain true to their values and priorities. In social interactions, this might mean expressing one's true feelings and opinions, even when they might not align with those of others, thereby fostering authenticity and reducing the emotional strain of conformity. While the desire to contribute to the happiness of others is valuable, Stoicism teaches that it should not come at the expense of one's own emotional independence and virtue. By focusing on internal growth and self-validation, individuals can enjoy more stable and fulfilling relationships, free from the precariousness of external approval. This chapter underscores the importance of cultivating a stoic mindset that cherishes autonomy and equanimity, essential for a life of true contentment and ethical integrity. Chapter 6. Enabling Destructive Behavior. Chapter 6 delves into the complex issue of enabling destructive behavior through excessive kindness, a topic particularly relevant in the context of Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes personal responsibility and the importance of self-discipline. Stoicism, with its foundational principles of rationality, virtue, and the discerning use of judgment, provides a framework for understanding how well-intentioned actions can sometimes lead to negative outcomes both for the giver and the recipient. Stoicism teaches that wisdom lies in recognizing what is within our control and acting only within those bounds with virtue and reason. This philosophy asserts that one's primary duty is to develop personal virtue and make rational decisions that reflect one's true character. When kindness and generosity are extended without discernment, they can inadvertently support or encourage harmful patterns of behavior in others, stunting their personal growth and fostering dependency. The Stoic concept of preferred indifference, things that are desirable but not essential for a virtuous life, plays a crucial role here. Acts of kindness and generosity fall into this category. They are beneficial and encouraged, but should not compromise one's moral integrity or wisdom. For instance, continuously bailing out a friend financially without addressing the underlying issues of their spending habits does not truly aid them, but rather perpetuates their irresponsible behavior. Moreover, the Stoics believed in the importance of facing hardships and overcoming obstacles as a means of developing strength and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, emphasized the value of adversity in building character and wisdom. When excessive kindness prevents others from experiencing the natural consequences of their actions, it also deprives them of the opportunity to learn, grow, and become self-reliant. In practice, Stoic kindness involves thoughtful consideration of the long-term effects of one's actions on others' ability to develop self-sufficiency. It encourages a balanced approach where help is given judiciously and accompanied by guidance that encourages others to take responsibility for their actions. This might mean setting conditions on assistance or offering support in ways that encourage independence rather than dependence. Stoicism also highlights the virtue of justice, which includes fairness to both oneself and others. It is unjust to oneself to bear the burdens of others to the point of personal detriment, and equally unjust to others to facilitate their harmful behaviors. True Stoic kindness, therefore, is judicious, measured, and aimed at genuinely improving the well-being of the other person, which sometimes requires tough love or allowing others to face the natural consequences of their actions. Chapter 7. The need for emotional and practical boundaries. In Chapter 7, we explore the Stoic emphasis on the importance of maintaining both emotional and practical boundaries as a means of living virtuously and preventing the exploitation of one's kindness. Stoicism, which values the virtues of wisdom, moderation, and self-control, teaches that setting and enforcing boundaries is not only necessary for personal well-being, but also for fulfilling one's duties to oneself and others responsibly. Boundaries are essential in managing our interactions with the world. They help define how much we are willing and able to give, ensuring that our acts of kindness are sustainable and do not lead to resentment or depletion. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus emphasized that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses, and setting boundaries is a way to exercise this control effectively. From a Stoic perspective, boundaries allow us to practice the virtue of moderation by preventing extremes of behavior that can lead to personal harm or the enablement of others' negative behaviors. They help maintain a balance between self-care and altruism, ensuring that our efforts to help others do not undermine our ability to care for ourselves and fulfill our own potential. Implementing boundaries also involves the Stoic practice of prosochi, or attentive mindfulness, where one remains vigilant about one's motivations and the consequences of one's actions. By continuously reflecting on the nature of our interactions and the impact they have on our well-being, we can make informed decisions that respect our limits and uphold our values. Furthermore, boundaries are critical in preventing the exploitation of one's generosity. In relationships where kindness is not reciprocated or is taken for granted, boundaries help protect one's virtue and dignity. Seneca taught that while we should be generous, we must also be wise and discerning, ensuring our kindness is respected and valued, not seen as a weakness to be exploited. The establishment of emotional and practical boundaries is a reflection of Stoic wisdom and moderation. It allows us to engage with the world in a way that is both generous and self-respecting, avoiding the pitfalls of overextension and exploitation. This Stoic approach ensures that our interactions are not only virtuous but also conducive to both our well-being and the genuine good of others.